Hi, everybody. Welcome to TFC HQ, presented by Kia. Maria Papadakis alongside Gareth Wheeler. It's been a crazy few days here at the training grounds as Toronto FC wraps up their season. We have heard from our head office to the players. Now, Gareth, something that stuck out with the players is how eager they are ready to come back, and some also need this rest. So how do they go from here?
Sure. I mean, not making the playoffs, which was inevitable, one of the goals on the season, not making it, that stings, and the players, quite frankly, want to be playing not just into November, but deep into December as well. But it was refreshing to hear the frank and honest assessment about what played out over the course of the year. And there's a couple elements that stuck out. The one is injuries. I mean, we've been on it all season long, but it's undeniable how much they played a role starting way back in the CONCACAF Champions League. The center back partnership, the preferred one of Drew Moore and Chris Mavinga, only played 2 games together on the season. 1-2, that's it. And both of them were in Champions League play. And even in games where one of those 2 center backs played, they conceded just 37 goals in 27 games. When neither of them played, in 20 games, they conceded 43 goals. So that was a huge factor as well. Josie Altidore, Victor Vasquez, both those players playing an incredible number of games and minutes less than last year. Altidore only played 877 minutes after playing almost 2,200 the previous season. And Victor Vasquez went from about 2,400 down to 1,400. I mean, you're losing significant manpower, and that's something that just can't happen. And the other issue that was put out there was maybe some distraction seeping in after the disappointment of not winning the CONCACAF Champions League. So I think there needs to be a much more balanced approach when it comes to preparation and overriding approach over the course of a full season in order to compete in all 3 competitions.
We had heard it from our president and general manager that after CONCACAF Champions League, they didn't exactly know what they were fully chasing after that point. And like you said about the injuries and the defenders, Drew Moore was said to be one of the leaders in the team, and without him, you could really feel that. But speaking of another leader, Jonathan Osorio, as we all know, has had an absolute career year this year, and he said it in his interview that next year, if he doesn't score as many of those goals, people are going to be asking him, what's going on? So how does he go on from here as well?
The bar is raised, and his own play has just improved so much year over year that you continue to see the evolution of the player, but also it matters how the team plays and what the group's going to look like around him. So it's not just about Jonathan, it's about the group as a whole. And one thing with all the designated players under contract, and that includes some other key players like Victor Vasquez, that they firmly believe that there won't be a distraction. And there will be some difficult conversations that are had here inside this building in the coming weeks about where these players will be come the long-term future. There's no overriding sentiment to blow this group up. The term retool is being used rather than rebuild. And I think that's really important for everyone to know that it's about the players showing commitment and the club showing commitment, vice versa, in order to see this thing through, in order to make another real push from the get-go of this season in the CONCACAF Champions League that's coming up in February of 2019.
Let's hear from our players.
We have to know if you wanna, we want to win. We have to know we have no break, or like less break than the other team. Personally, I like to have like no long break.
You like to be busy?
I like to be busy, yeah.
Yeah, for sure it's gonna be good to have some time off. I think it's maybe for me, in my case, it's gonna be too long because I'm not used to have this kind of vacation. But it is what it is. We have to take it like that. I'm gonna work hard because my knee has to come back as strong as possible to play as many games as possible and help the team. And I'm really look forward to it because I really want to play again and try to win, of course, the CONCACAF because it's the first trophy that we have in our hands.
I think I have to stay humble. Actually, this offseason will be kind of preparing myself for what's to come, which means, yes, I got a pay raise, but that just means higher expectations from you guys. So if it actually gets harder. And I'm prepared for that. For sure. As soon as now, it's crazy because years ago when I didn't score in 5 games, it's okay because nobody asked me, oh, why aren't you scoring? But if next year I don't score in 4 games, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, Jonathan? So, I mean, that's good. That means I'm getting better. So I think this offseason preparing me for that. And I think 2 people are I have to prove to people, there's some people out there, I don't know, maybe in here, that think this was just a one-off, and I'll be ready to make sure that doesn't happen.
This is an important stretch for the club. I think, across the board, there's some big important decisions to be made. I think there's some real honest conversations to be had, and we'll go from there. Like I said, I love the city. I love the club. I've given my life to this club over the last 5 years, and until the day comes that I walk out the door, if I walk out the door, I will always do that.
Yeah, I feel like I need to get myself ready and healthy and be sure that come January 2019, I'm ready to go for another full season. It's been frustrating. I feel like I've just been playing catch up after my quad tear, and just haven't felt right at certain times of the year, and hope it's not a sign of things to come, obviously. And none of us, unfortunately, are getting any younger, but I do feel like I still have a lot to offer, and want to be sure that I use this offseason to get myself ready for 2019 at least.
We are finished wrapping up this season, but looking ahead, retooling is the word that is being used around the club. Gareth, how does the team move forward from here?
Yeah, and that's what it's about. That's where the excitement is, about how this team improves and gets better, and that's the goal here. Decisions to be made with the squad. In order to bring players in, there will be players who end up going out the other direction. There are 2 players out of contract, 13 players under contract as of right now, 11 options that may or may not be picked up. There is a free agent and 2 loans to decide upon, and that's Auro Jr. and Lucas Hansen. So there's some work to do. The group came out and said that they'd like to address the center back position, of course, bring in a little bit more depth, and that was a problem this year without Moore and Mavinga, which you've already covered. Also, they'd like to bring in another attacking player, and that's where the real intrigue is going to be. What type of attacking player is the club looking out for? Greg Venny, the head coach, went on in great detail about how the game's changing. You need those attacking wing players to provide the width and really players that can get in behind the back line. Toronto FC doesn't have a squad right now that has a lot of those types of players. So whether it's 1, whether it's 2 attacking players you bring in, there's a way that this team not only can bring in players to reinforce what they have, but also to change the way that they play. So I think that should excite a lot of people out there about how they go about kind of evolving this group and turning them back into an MLS Cup contender.
From the training grounds to the pitch at BMO Field, there's going to be many, many changes. But for more on the press conference, let's hear.
I think every year the variables are different. Last year there was a singular focus. We came off of losing in a championship game. The group had an outcome and a vision of we're winning the championship. There wasn't a Champions League involved in that whole discussion. This year we had Champions League. Everybody was really focused in Champions League. We also recognized, I think guys recognized and saw what Champions League, the toll it took sort of on the group. Now, when you go into a season, you have an idea of how you're going to play, but it could be 3 in the back. But if all of your center backs, except for 1 or 2 of them, are injured, then you've got to make an adjustment there. Now we're asking guys to play other positions sometimes. We're adapting constantly through the course of the season because guys are in and guys are out. And I think the loss in Champions League probably did. I wanted to say for a lot of the season it didn't affect us, but I'm sure it did, both physically and mentally.
Tim and Greg and I spent about 4 hours yesterday together, really doing kind of just a complete overview of our roster and where we sit long term. Clearly, and Tim has mentioned it, we have to improve our defense. And so, a center back, someone of a profile who can come in and command things is certainly something we're going to look for. And then you also look to have another attacking option. With Josie being down for a significant portion of the season, we had to see goal production come from others, and really it came from Jonathan Osorio, who had a career year. I don't know if Jonathan's going to score 17 goals again next year, though. And so we need to find another attacking option. So I'd say those were probably the first two things that really in our discussions, came to mind yesterday. And then it's, finding the profile and the player and the type, whether it's within the league or outside the league, on who we want to go after and who's available.
We went all out for Champions League. I mean, we used the discretionary TAM and the mandatory TAM that was allotted to us from the league that was new last year in order to improve our roster and to be better and to push the limits. And I think that's part of the culture of who we are at TFC is we're ambitious. We want to be at the top of the league. And we want to compete on multiple competitions. And so I think that's part of the culture. So I don't think it's a massive culture shift. I think we've worked really hard to build this expectation of winning. And that's what the culture is that we have. The question is, are there tweaks in what we do on a daily basis, collectively as a team, the vision that we put forth at the beginning of the year? Are there changes that we need to make? Sure.
Moving forward from here, everyone is going to want to get healthy and get better. That is the main focus. But Gareth, after a season like this, you still cannot forget these past 2-year runs that Toronto FC has had. They've made it all the way to the MLS Cup, CONCACAF, and now they're going back again in January. So you can't forget about any of that, even though these results.
It's a very talented group, and the thing is, this group isn't done yet. They may be a veteran team, but there's certainly more to be accomplished. And you said it. Just get healthy. Like, that's the thing. Victor Vasquez is saying already, if the team was in the playoffs, he'd be good to go after having knee surgery a couple weeks ago. So hopefully that means good things going forward. Look, with just 4 players alone and more Mavinga, Vasquez, and Altidore, they played almost 5,000 minutes less than they did a season ago. Health is of the priority. Also learning from your mistakes. And this group, it sounds like to a man, they've taken accountability and they're going to bring things with them next year, like preparation for the new season and about maybe just augmenting the way that they prepare for the Champions League with the long view in mind. And I think that without adversity and without facing it, sometimes you don't learn and you don't grow from it. So I think the lessons were difficult this year, but there's a mature group of individuals, hardworking, committed, both in terms of dollars as well as sweat equity as well. And they're going to be right back at it. And I can't wait to see the revenge tour, the redemption tour take place in a few months from now.
You want to thank everybody for staying with us the entire season. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll be back shortly, right, Gareth?
We will. I think everyone needs a break, including us. Look, it's bittersweet, but thank you to everyone out there. The support is phenomenal. And come on, you Reds.
For the final time, thanks for watching.